something to eat as well.
No, it's okay. I literally got home and then I thought, I better eat something. So I thought, Nicholas is it.
That sugar.
Okay, so talk to me.
Chili used to be my teacher, and she's quite an influential pole dancer. And her partner Lulu, I used to work with at Fox Studios, and also she was a student with me. So anyway, Chili posted one time on Instagram that she was offering workshops. I reached out to her on the Body and Brass page and said, like, would you ever come down to the Illawarra? She said yes. And then she spoke to a mutual friend and was like, I got approached by a Wollongong studio that wants me down there. And Jane was like, oh yeah, that's Chiara. And Chili was like, oh, awesome. Then the lady from down here from Fly, Jess, she reached out to all these Sydney studios and asked if anyone wanted to buy her studio. So she met with a few of them. They met her. She told them her conditions, which was she still wanted to teach there. She still wanted her teachers on. They weren't allowed to rename it. And they all declined the offer. Billy reached out to me and was like, can we have a chat? So one night at like 9:30, she got on the phone and she was like, look, I know you are looking to start a business. She's selling her business. I would like to open up a pole class down there, but I don't live down there. My aim is to retire down there because my family's down there. She's like, would you consider going 50-50? Like, okay. I was like, let me talk to Nico. So Nico and I looked at it. We looked at their structure. I went to her classes, looked at her website, we looked at their app, and we were like, okay, this kind of like very much aligns with what we wanted to do. And we looked at the positives and the negatives, and the positives outweighed the negatives.
Okay, so let's list some of the positives then.
Yeah. So the positives were that the costing was going to be 50-50, that they are already established, that they are well known within the pole community, that they have all their, I guess, like background of their, like Chili has a background of like the dancing side, and Lulu has the knowledge of the business side of things. So we're gaining that knowledge. They're doing it now.
And what were some of the negatives?
So the negatives for us was that it wasn't going to be my individual, like me creating it, and that we had to be under that banner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the one question I have for yourself and Nico is, what does your legacy look like? Like, having gone through this process with you for the last 12 months, what does your legacy look like for a business? Is it a partnership? Is it still you want to go on your own? Like, what does that look like for yourself?
So look, I was always really mixed about going on it alone, just because we have never owned a business before, neither of us. And I was worried about it financially, and second, I was worried about the time, because it was I knew it required a lot of my time to be away from my family. The other positive with that was that I knew that I was going to get support, so it wouldn't rely solely on me.
Okay. And so looking at this opportunity, and obviously like you've had first conversations, and it's a 50-50 partnership, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, and then you said there was a third partner as well. Is that correct? Or is it just you and this one person?
No, it's me and two people. So they own 50-50 of St. Peter's, and then it would be 25-25 and 50 down.
Okay. So I guess some of the things to think about, like when you go into partnership people. So again, it's working out the nuts and bolts of what you want and what they want, and then coming to a compromise. So, you know, some of the negatives is that, okay, it's not under your branding, it's they want it under theirs. So again, is that negotiable? Because again, this is something you wanted to do, and you can still do if you want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's looking at, okay, so what are the deal breakers for yourself? So if the branding is one of them, okay, write it down, see if it's negotiable. If it is having 2 other business partners, okay, how does that run? So some of the things to think about would be, all right, we need to have some kind of heads of agreement, because it can't be under a sole proprietor now. It'd have to be registered under the company. So, okay, what does that look like? Who pays for that? What's the company name going to be named? And what are the voting rights and the rights of decisions within the business, if that makes sense, under having 3 of you there? I guess some of the other things I would be looking at is, okay, how does the business run? Because is it going to be run their way, or is it going to be run your way, or a combination of both? Because when you're under a structure with other people involved in it, if, for example, it's voting rights, you have 3, and everyone gets a vote, it means you can be outvoted, if that makes sense. Doesn't necessarily mean what you want will actually move forward. And so it's having some of these conversations around that. Okay, if it is a 50-50, okay, what does that mean financially? How much are we putting into the business? Because even though they're well established in Sydney, not Wollongong. So your, I guess, kickstart moving forward is still going to be the same. You have to get clients, you still have to have a marketing plan, you still have to work how this is going to run. And if she's going to do some days in the business, you're going to do some days, okay, what happens then? You still will probably need to employ people, and what does that look like? Pardon me, you said that they wanted a percentage of sales or a percentage of revenue every week or something, or how?
Haven't worked that out yet. They put to us that we'd have to see, what did we say? Was it see a solicitor or something, that we had to nut everything out?
No, like whether there will need to be agreements. Like,
There'll definitely have to be. Yeah. So there's a lot more conversations to have, because okay, they're putting in, it's 50-50, so you're all putting in your X amount of dollars, whatever that is. So that's something you'll have to agree on. But then it's also, you have to agree on, okay, well, if they're wanting to make an income, how does that work? If they're not going to be working in the business, especially because you said one of them she does admin or something, how does that actually work? What's the agreement around that? Because again, you need money to keep the business going. You have to pay expenses, and realistically, if they're only working 1 or 2 days in the business but want their 0.25% or whatever it is of the profits, then you need to establish what that looks like, because again, that's money coming out. Those profits generally would be reinvested into the business. So it's all of these things I would be looking at, because again, if you're going to be pulling a wage, what does that look like? And is it a wage for hours worked? And it has to be fair and equitable across all shareholders, if that makes sense, because the expectation can't be, okay, we're going to do this and you run the business and they reap the benefits, because you might as well just do that on your own.
Yeah, I'd say it have to be a case of the hours that you work teaching, you get paid similar to what a teacher would be paid as well. And then the profits left over are then divided.
But again, wouldn't you want those profits to go back into building your business? Because you're going to need marketing, you're going to need all these things. And so if it is profit sharing, then maybe it's profit sharing after the first 2 or 3 years. and you make and you put a benchmark of how much you're turning over every month.
Almost like a sinking fund in the apartment block. You build up a cash amount that's available for whatever it might be needed.
Kind of, or it's like dividends, and
Yeah.
the dividends are paid based on whether or not you've met your KPIs or your budget for the year.
Yeah.
Technically, it's almost okay. Now you've got to have a partnership agreement under a company or a shareholders agreement. Okay, what does that look like now? And it's very clear on how the company runs, dividend structure, the payment structure if you're working in the business. It can't be kind of, well, this is what we want, and if you're happy with it, let's do that. And even though there's, lawyers involved, the one thing I would say is that because you were going to do this anyway, I would drive it to your favor. Because if they were looking at doing this, they would have kind of done it by now. So they're now like looking at you. You've kind of done a lot of the hard yards. You understand the market. You understand who is down here. That's a big chunk of the work they don't have to do. And I don't know, it's up to you whether or not you want to do 50-50 or if you want to do 60-40. Like the ball's kind of in your court, so they've come to you with an offer. You can always go back with a counter offer.
Yeah.
But and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying think about what it is you want to get from it, and then look at, okay, let's write down what we want to get from it, and then let's look at engaging with a lawyer to do that if they agree to it, because you don't have to agree to their terms. You can put your terms forward. This is what I want to do, and two things will come out of that. They'll either move forward or they'll say no. You can always negotiate, but I wouldn't negotiate yourself where you end up with the underhand, if that makes sense, and they've got the upper hand.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it, Nico?
Like, I guess, there's positives and negatives to it. Obviously, you're sharing a part of the business and you're going to be mainly responsible for running of it. So they're getting extra money and extra space to propel their brand forward and everything like that off the hard work that you're going to do. But on the flip side of that, you're basically getting a franchise without having to pay franchise fees.
Exactly.
You get all the support, all the syllabus, all the structure. Their app's already set up, a whole lot, the website. So you're basically going to piggyback off them. So it's going to be a lot less work in that regards.
It will, but it's also, okay, how do we cost this business then? So obviously they're still going to have to set up Wollongong. So there'll be fees involved in that. But then it's also like, okay, if we're going to build their brand, okay, what does that marketing structure look like? What's the marketing plan? Like, the one thing if you are going to get people involved in the business, then you want it to be fair and equitable. You don't want it to be, okay, you've got 50%, they've got their 25%, you run the business and we'll reap the rewards. So it has to be really clearly laid out, like if she's going to work X amount of days in the business, doing X amount of classes, great, that's what that means. If there is another person who's doing admin or whatever it is, okay, what does that mean? What am I getting for that? What's this business going to get for it? What does that equate to as well, because if they're wanting, to reap the rewards of revenue or the profit, then it's like, okay, are they just going to get paid in profit only, or are they wanting a wage and profit? Because again, your first 2 to 5 years, profit should be putting back into the business unless you can scale really quickly. The last thing you want to be doing every month is handing out cash and you've got nothing in the kitty to do other things. And they would know that. So I think it's probably what I would do is get really clear on What is it that you want to get out of it? And then how would you like it to run? And then you start having conversations around it. Because once the lawyer's involved, then it's almost like, yeah, we're ready to move forward and this is how it's going to move forward.
Mm.
You don't necessarily want to get a lawyer involved to negotiate all this. It'll cost you a fortune.
I believe there's been already discussions around a lot of those things. Like, I think you girls have spoken, and 50, 25, 25, I think it was,
Mhm.
in ownership, I guess, of the business. And they would be contributing the same amount to setting it up, like fit
Mhm.
out, thing like that. But you haven't figured out the working arrangements, and if you're working X amount of hours and they're working how that equates to any kind of pay income.
Yeah, income. And
where
again,
I'm
revenue.
like,
Yeah, exactly. Because now your expenses are like, okay, there's yourself, there's the other lady. Okay, you've still got to find someone. And I'd be even talking as much as, okay, how much are we getting paid? Because you have to now relook at your budgets around what does that look like?
Mm.
How's that going to look like? Because ultimately you'll be employed by the company to work your hours, which is normal. So you pay tax, you pay super by law, all of that, and same with that other person. And then how I would look at it is that every 12 months you would be looking at profit, and what do we do with that profit? But I would be reinvesting as much as I can back into marketing and events and building your business before you even talk about paying them profit margins. So yeah. And then obviously looking at, okay, if we do go to a lawyer, whose lawyer do we go to, or do we go to an independent? You'll have to go to your own independent lawyers anyway. You'll have to agree on who's going to write the contract up. But then whoever's lawyer does it, you'll want your lawyer to read over and negotiate based on terms. Because I guarantee you, there is always something in those contracts which aren't to your favor, which you didn't agree to. Yeah. But how are you feeling about it in general? Are you excited? Are you excited to like at least go down this path, or are you 50-50, or what's your gut?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your gut telling you?
Well, we got them to pitch it to us and we pitched to them. Like we said, this is what we want. What do you want? And it came to me, it came from a space where they're just doing it because they love the industry and they want there to be proper whole studios set up with proper instructors and training and creating that community. And that aligned with what we wanted to do. So, and I
was just going to say, so what does that look like to them? Like, what does proper training and all of that look like? Because again, this is something you'll need to look at. How do I, from your own vision, how does that look in my business? If we amalgamate together, okay, how will that run? How will like all these things mold within this business, because, and I'm not saying it's not a good idea. It's like, okay, there's all this, again, they're driving that. So how does that look? They're the ones with the experience. How does that look? And even though they do have a passion for the industry and they love it, always keep in the front of your mind that they're not in it for nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they're business people. They already have 2 studios. They're looking at a third. It's not a franchise, it's a partnership, but they're still in it for 2 things. Yep, they love it. They want another location and profit revenue.
Yeah. And they said that with more studios, it becomes more lucrative.
Yeah.
So,
They become more lucrative.
Yeah.
Not necessarily yourself, but they do.
Yeah.
The brand does. So this is something you need to think about. Are you sold on your brand, or are you happy to go with their brand? And there's nothing wrong with either.
Mm.
I would just go back to, okay, does this align with what I want to do? And if it does, then yeah, have more of those conversations so you can nut out what it all means
Figure it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and figure it all out. Yeah, before you go to a lawyer, because then you can go, right, this is what we've spoken about. This is what we've all agreed
Mm.
upon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely become a little bit more complicated, especially making decisions about properties and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it won't become your decision then.
Yeah.
It'll become all three of you's decision. And these are some of the things you've got to think about, because everything, for example, you're the majority, you're kind of more of the face than them two. If you're wanting to make a decision on something in your business, you're not allowed to. It has to be the three of them. So again, these are some of the things you've kind of got to think about. If, yeah, you know what, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to have them on board to be it. What's that process? And again, you know, part of that process, if I was in your shoes, initiate, is that okay? It has to be a vote, knowing that vote, you could be outvoted a lot of the times. And you've got to be okay with that.
Mhm.
And then I'd also look at, okay, what does an exit strategy look like? And I'd ask that question.
Mm.
Because if the exit strategy is, okay, a buyout, okay, if that's the case, then is it an independent valuation? Like, how does that buyout happen? If you guys have decided, okay, we want to hang our boots up, don't want to do it anymore. Need to make sure the exit strategy is really, really clear.
Same thing for them too. Like one of them might want to leave the business too, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, okay, if they want to leave the business, who and how is it bought out? And then what happens with the equity? Because again, that equity, who does it go to?
Yeah.
You know, so is that 25, say if it's one of them, is that 25% evenly distributed across yourself and the other person?
Mhm.
Like, that's a really important thing, because again, this is your kind of business idea. They've come into it. How do you want this to move forward? Because, for example, if you have, like, say with us, because we have shareholders, so this is going to be sort of similar to what if you go down this path. So if we have shareholders, if say a shareholder wants out, so to speak, they want to sell their shares, we have to offer it to the other shareholders. We have to get a valuation on what the value of those shares are.
Mm.
We have to then offer it to all the other shareholders to see if anyone wants to buy it. If no one does, again, then it goes to if no one wants to buy those shares, then obviously what is the contingency on that?
Mm.
Do they sell them on the stock market? Do they whatever? And it's all based around what your agreement is. So you just need to get clear on what that looks like, because they're the parts that get one really, really messy and really, really personal when it comes to ownership.
Mm.
So yeah, so maybe some of those conversations is to have a little bit more around that. And if you guys have come to that agreement, then take all your notes and you go see your lawyer, or whoever's lawyer, you go to an independent lawyer to write the contract up.
Okay.
So even something as simple as pricing, you're going to have to.
That's well, I was going to say that's one kind of issue that needs to be figured out, because they're obviously operating off Sydney prices, and I'd say there's a different price down here, but if you're going to put it on their app, on the website, you can't have it different necessarily.
Well, again, this is what you've got to look at, because, like, how much is a class at one of their studios?
So I think when I compared it to ours, we were doing a membership of like $45 a week for 2 classes, and theirs is
Mhm.
56.
Okay. So, and what does the current poll chick down here do? What's her
65 unlimited.
a week? Wow, that's cheap.
Yeah.
So the expectation is
It's
going to be
cheap.
around something like that. So it's doing the assumptions on, okay, what does that look like? And probably that would be the first thing I would look at.
Yeah.
I
Is it
reckon
okay?
you could get away with a little bit more than what she was charging because you obviously offering that premium, better product and better service. And
Yeah, we discussed that and we looked at maybe keeping the same pricing but just offering more classes.
Mhm.
So that way when these Sydney studio students, if they ever get confused and go across to the Illawarra page, they'll see the same pricing, but just we're offering more classes per price rather than different pricing.
Yeah. And that's what you'd have to look at. But again, I would do the numbers around that because you're going from 2 classes at 45. What was your unlimited? Do we have an unlimited? I can't even remember.
Yeah, we did. I think we were looking at like in line with her because she was our competition, 65 or 70.
Yeah. Okay. So again, just check those like your assumptions around it.
Yeah.
Because if you're offering more classes, great, but that means wages are going to go up. It means a whole lot of other more expenses as well, not necessarily more income.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, if she's closing down and you guys are the only one in the market, then you can kind of
So,
set your own kind of price for what you do want to do and people just get in line with it.
Yeah.
and I guess that's what the girls were saying. They mark their price, whatever the studios are charging. They base themselves off 2 other long-standing studios. And they match the price increases and match everything. So it's the same price no matter where you go.
Yeah. No matter where you go with their studios. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, within
So-
Sydney.
Within Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what were they charging a week again?
I don't think they had one of their classes was $40, like
Yeah.
just a casual class, but I think for 2 classes it was 56.
Okay. So again, you may have to, yeah, see, it's a tough one because a $11 increase from what people, well, actually, no, is the other girl that's closing down, is she offering a 2-class package or is it just weekly?
You can buy like
Wow.
a 10 pack or like a weekly.
So it's either a 10-pack a weekly and that's it. Wow. So it's quite a significant jump then.
Yeah.
Because weekly could be, how many classes does she do a week? The other girl? That's
Oh,
close.
she does pole, aerial, Pilates, bar. Like she does heaps of different classes.
And you pay that 65 and you can do any of them.
Yeah, but she doesn't run enough pole classes
Okay.
because she's
How
only got
many-
one studio.
How many would she run?
I'll just look up her app.
So I'm just going to have another piece of licorice.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry.
So her timetable, she's running 3 pole classes 5 days a week. And then so she's running 6 classes a night for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
For pole?
And like Pilates, like dance and fly and everything else. So she's running 6 classes once a week and then 5 classes the rest of the week.
So that's 11 classes a fortnight.
And then, 11, 12, 13, 14.
14 classes a fortnight.
No, a week.
Oh, of pole?
No, of mixed.
Oh, okay.
What,
So
do you want just of pole?
just pole, yeah.
Oh, she's running 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, 15, 16.
A week?
Yeah.
So the most that you're going to be doing is probably 1, would you say? Over 5, like one class a night, would you do? If you're really committed, like if If you were going
Oh.
to do, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's $13 a class. When you think about it, if you've got the unlimited package.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cheap. So, so it's $260 a month then she's charging.
In my house.
So she's doing, sorry, how many did you say she's doing a week?
17.
17 classes. And how many does she have per class?
She has 14 polls, but I have only seen her get that full a couple of times.
Okay, so 14. So that's 17. So just on those classes, let's just say she filled all 17 classes
Mhm.
at $65 a week. Actually, no, it'd be 13. Because this is the tricky thing as to whether or not out of those, so it'd be 5. Hang on a minute. So it's 17 classes by 14, okay, a week. So that's 238 people. But we don't know if that 238 people are all new people or if they're going once or twice, okay? So let's just say they go 3 times. So that's 79 people a week going 3 times, okay? So that's $5,135 a week. So times 4. So it's about 20K to 20,500 a month.
So she should be covering her rent.
That's doubling the expenses, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's what she would be pulling if those people, if those classes were full. So those 17 classes were full.
Yeah.
And one person was going 3 times.
I'd say not all classes would be full, would they?
No, and
No.
some of them are
So
practice, some of them are
That's
practice
best-
times,
best-
which
best
means
case,
that
yeah.
someone's going in and like there's no teacher there.
Yeah.
so let's just say it's 50%. So they'd be bringing in around 10K.
Yeah, which covers costs.
But she's not paying her teachers. Oh.
Oh, the old person.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that's 10, yeah, about 10K a month.
Mm.
So you'd be just kind of breaking even on that, on 17 classes.
Yeah.
And that's unlimited. So again, the pricing model doesn't work.
Mm.
So this is where, like, I think you have that advantage where you could look at a different pricing structure, which is like what we've worked out,
Yeah.
where you're paying like for 2 classes or whatever it is. You can definitely increase classes because they're still purchasing their either weekly or 2-pack, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not weekly. I mean, you could offer weekly, but again, you're probably going to be losing money on the weekly. You know, I'd probably look at a 2-pack or a 10-pack or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but again, these are some of the discussions you're going to have with them because their pricing structure is a lot higher. And I don't know if an $11 increase for 2 classes a week, if the consumers down here would buy into that.
Yeah, no, I've already mentioned that to them and they said like we'll definitely look at adding additional classes for them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just something I think you'd have to look at.
Yeah.
Okay. So where to next then?
We are looking at a property at the moment.
Yep.
They came down on Friday. They are really keen on that property in Crown Street. I was hesitant at first, but then I thought about it more and more, and just dug into it, and I was like, it's actually good. I like it.
So what's the rent on that?
So it's a bit of background information. It has been vacant for 2 years.
Yeah.
So when we were speaking to the agent, the owner is up for negotiations.
Okay.
But the asking price at the moment is 64,000.
Plus outgoings.
So the outgoings are just what we use.
It'll be water rate. You'd also have probably obviously electricity. You'll need to check if that's council fees as well on top
Yeah.
of that. So your rent per week, let's just say you guys agree to the 64,000. Your rent per week is going to be about 5,300. So, and how many classes do you roughly have a week, just based on at the moment? How many classes were you going to run a week?
So my plan, which they did at their studio, which I thought was really good, was they ran classes from 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
5 days a week, and then they structured that on the weekends, and they just watched people book in. And if people booked in, they kept it. And if people didn't book in, they started to remove them from the timetable.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
From what I've heard, if we're in Crown Street, we have workers express interest in morning classes, so before work, so maybe a 8:15 to 8:45, then a maybe 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock for the retail workers before they start. Then
I would be looking at earlier, to be honest.
Yeah,
because you usually find most people start work in Wollongong anywhere between 8 and 9.
okay,
So if you're going to do a morning class, like for example, I go to a gym just next to the Illawarra. They've got 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and then they finish till they've got a lunchtime one, and then the afternoon because people are going to work.
yeah. So yeah, I'm happy to run. Yeah, the morning
Mm.
classes are definitely lunchtime classes, so like even between 11 and 2, and then from 4:30, 5:30 would be our earliest class. There is, I mean, in St. Peter's, they run classes to 9:30. I'm not keen on running classes to 9:30. I'd rather finish at 8:30.
Mhm.
Except for a Thursday when the markets are on, I do a 9:30, like an 8:30 to a 9:30.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could potentially be 2 classes in the morning and 3 classes of an evening, would you say?
Yeah. And then a
That's
lunchtime
fine.
class, 6 classes a
So
day.
6 classes. Okay. And then, and what's your casual rate?
We were looking at 45.
Which is about 270. So stupid. No, it's not. It's and in this new place, how many poles can you fit?
Oh, I don't know. Nico? Oh, I'll get it. Can you talk to Gab? Just tell her
Yep.
how many poles you fit in the new place.
Which one?
What does your best guess estimate?
Let me quickly figure out. I need to look at the dimensions. The new place, this Crown Street, is a bad idea, I reckon. But they're not listening to me. So
Tell me your thoughts on it.
it's in a state of disrepair. There's major works that need to be done to bring it up to any kind of usable space. There's clear evidence of like massive water ingress and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my concern is the roof to the old ceiling, because there's an old ceiling and then there's a false ceiling below it.
Yeah.
Height to the old ceiling is good. It's 3.6 meters.
Yep.
The height to the false ceiling is only 3 meters, which is no good.
Okay. Yep.
Not high enough. And the old ceiling is old. So you know what kind of materials will be in the old ceiling.
Asbestos.
Yeah. Yeah,
So, and I guess is there any room for negotiation with the landlord for him to fix it before you move in?
probably, but well, yes, there'd have to be a whole bunch of capital works that he'd have to undertake.
Because it'd have to be up to code as well.
It would be, and I guess my problem is, or my concern is, it hasn't been occupied. He's let it go into a state of disrepair since COVID. He's just let it turn to crap to the point where even like there's pigeons that have been living in there, and there's bird crap everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
Which says to me he doesn't owe any money on that.
yeah, and it's completely just in a state of disrepair, and he's left it that way. He's not prepared to spend any money on it, even for advertising.
Wow. Well, that
So
means if
he's
he's
given it
not,
to an agent to say find someone, and when someone's going to move in there, then I'll fix things up.
yeah, okay.
And it's not managed by an agent either, so he's going to be self-managing it himself. So
Cool.
any issues will have to deal with him, and I don't know who he is and what.
Yeah, and I guess it's one of those things that even if it's written into the contract and you sign on it and nothing's done, then you're in a bit of a pickle. I actually know the place you're talking about. We were looking at this for our own business 2018, and the rent then was at 110,000. Yeah, look, honestly, it's one of those things. If you're just going in, if you've got pockets, deep pockets, and you can persuade the guy to get it up to code, fantastic.
It's going to be a whole lot of work for us too, because you're going to have to repaint the whole thing. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed in there.
Yeah,
like water damage on bits of like decorative paneling and stuff like that.
But that's where I would be going back to the landlord and saying, okay, we'll take it providing it's up to code.
Yeah. Or the
fixed.
The old floorings or water damaged as well. So there's a whole bunch of work that's going to be done there.
Yeah. The only thing then, once he does that though, he may increase your rent. So.
Well, that's it. Yeah, there's only a room for a certain budget for rent. So
yeah.
Yeah. Just looking at it, it's 9 meters wide. You can fit 3 rows in 9 meters.
Of how many poles?
And it's 24 deep or long. Split that into 2 rooms of 12.
And there's a back room as well, so potentially 3 rooms.
So
I reckon you could fit 12 poles in each of the 2 rooms, and then there's a back room as well.
Okay, so let's just work on 12, 50% occupancy.
No, that's more than that's
just based on the 2 rooms for the moment.
Oh, not the 3rd room.
12.
Okay.
Yeah, because again, you're going to have low occupancy in the beginning, if that makes sense. So we do that. So that's 45. So, and we said 6 a day, so that's 40. So 6, 5, 5 is that. So that's 30.
12 poles, mind you, 1 is the teachers, so that's 11 poles of students.
Okay. Yeah. So that's 30 students. Sorry, what did I just do? So that's 30 classes by, that's 11. Okay, so did this a little bit backwards. I'm hoping I got the math correct. So if we've got, just say 11 occupancy, okay, to start with, we've got 30 classes a week. Okay, so that's 6 a day. Okay, times the 11 occupancy, right? And then let's just say they are doing the 2 class for $45. Just that alone would be $7,425. Just based on those people doing 2 classes a week, and you've got 50% occupancy.
Hmm.
So you just cover your rent.
But there's a 66. Are you going off our prices or their prices?
Your prices
Oh, ours. Okay.
at the $45 for 2 classes.
Yeah.
I'm just basing it on that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that would lead you after rent about 2K to pay wages and all of that. And so part of this then is I think you'll need to look at, okay, if you're running classes, and let's just say that's worst case scenario for the moment, you're running some of the classes, the other lady's running classes, just based on 50% occupancy, you guys would have to not pay yourselves for some time until you can build that money up in the kitty. But you'd still have to pay someone to do that, to do some of the other classes.
Yeah.
So it might be one of those things that, okay, yeah, you can increase space, you can get more space, but again, one thing that makes me nervous is that does the clientele down here, do you have the clientele to fill the space yet?
Hmm.
And you've got really high rent that is in a high and low traffic area. So Crown Street gets high at certain times, low at certain times. There's, other fitness studios around, people do come there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be thinking about whether or not you can find somewhere that is less of a headache and less strain on the business. Because again, you don't know what your occupancy rate's going to be. All you can do is base the assumption on 50%.
Hmm.
And then if you are putting money in, okay, let's just say you keep to the amount you're wanting to put in, and then those two come up with the same amount. Okay, you've got a kitty there to, do the fit out, all of that. That leaves you with a small amount to keep that business ticking, paying rent, doing all that until such time when you have a higher occupancy rate, or at least an occupancy rate that's breaking even.
Hmm.
And that's the unknown question at the moment.
Yeah. So that's where it was an advantage of it being smaller. If it was just a smaller studio as opposed to a bigger studio. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing, you can always, if you do have a smaller studio initially, like personally, you could put on more classes with filled occupancy rather than getting a big studio and you've only got between 30 and 50% occupancy and you've got all this space. Because then it's like, what do I do with the space?
Do they, in the back room, because it's self-contained, they wanted to rent it out to a girl that has reformers and have a Pilates studio sublease from us.
Do they know someone who is ready to do that down here?
No, we're going to have a conversation with her.
Yep. So again, these are some of the things. And again, because we're talking about your dream, your goal at the moment.
Yeah.
And I know we've spoken about a lot of different things. Okay, does that fit in with what you want to do? Because again, $5,300 per month, you're locked in for a minimum of 12 months that you've got to come up with that rent every month.
Yeah.
So, and personally, even though these girls have done it before, they're not familiar with the area. I would still take the approach of starting small and then growing. You can always move to a bigger studio 12 months, or you get another rental and you offer, pole in a different area because you've got the occupancy.
It's a point though, like if you got all these pole rooms, who's going to be teaching them? You can't be in 2 rooms at once.
Yeah. And it's also the thing of, okay, if you do go to Crown Street, where do people park? Because you have to think of all these things, because Westfield isn't open at that time, the car park. And again, that's going to cost them money to park there.
Mhm.
You've got a little bit of parking on Market Street, Kira Street, and all of that. But again, you need to think of all these things. So even though it is local and it sounds really enticing, you've still got barriers to entry to get to that place.
I only know from my experience. I was going to a gym a long time ago in town. It was Fitness First,
Mhm.
so down near the youth club.
Mhm.
And I got jacket going there, just dealing, trying to park and getting into town. I said, no, screw that.
Mm.
Yeah.
But maybe our target market isn't people coming in. Maybe it's already people that live around there. Because you've got the high rises at the top there, and then you've got the high rise at the bottom.
But yeah, maybe if it was like something that's like a cafe that's kind of ubiquitous to everyone in the area. But I'd say your pole students are going to be spread out everywhere.
I reckon they will be. Yeah.
Be concentrated in the city.
Yeah, no, but
Like, to give you an example, I do the business health checks in Wollongong City Council, right next to the library. I hardly got anyone coming because people can't park. Once I started doing them in Thuril, Shell Harbour, Dapto, booked out constantly because there's parking. They're not trying to fight traffic, going around in circles trying to find a park. So I think it's something that you really need to consider, even though the centre of Wollongong is enticing, there's still a lot of barriers. And I think there are a lot of barriers that I would be looking at whether or not they are, I guess, achievable in overcoming. Because again, even I go to Airlocker, which is just on Kira Street, I have to either park all the way down at Victoria Street just to get up there, especially in peak hour. And that's if I can get a park. I just got to keep going around in circles until hopefully someone leaves. Yeah. Or I have to park and pay in Coles. So have a think about it. Have a think about all of these things. And again, Nico's concerns about the state of the place is a very valid thing because, again, you're going to be dealing directly with the landlord. You may or may not be able to do things. He may or may not fix things. It's already in a state of repair, so that's going to cost a lot of money, especially if there is asbestos.
yeah, that's the thing. If there's asbestos, it's a health issue. We can't.
Well, they'll have to get up to code anyway. He'll have to do something, but
Asbestos is fine if it's just left how it is and you don't disturb it.
Yeah.
But the problem is you're going to need to put poles.
Yeah, exactly. So it
And it's
doesn't
gonna-
suit our needs.
It's going to be disturbing. Yeah.
So that will be the next thing. We need to get the builder out to have a look under it, and if it doesn't suit our needs, then we can't progress with it.
I can already tell you, and this is what I'm trying to say to you girls, is that you can't with that roof, that old sheeting in there. It's all filled with asbestos.
Yeah, I know,
stuff.
but you're on my side, and
Yeah.
they're looking at it like, no, we
I
need
know.
an individual party, an independent party to go up there and have a look and tell them, and then everyone has that collective information.
Well, I took the photo, so maybe we can just send it to someone, and they'll just go, "Yeah, that's old."
Well, no, because they need to get up and have a look, not just look in the back and be like, oh no, yeah.
But that is it. That's the sheet is the sheet. It's an old roof.
They want someone to go beyond that sheet to have a look. That's what they're
they-
asking for.
Okay, they can't. But they,
So can I make a suggestion? If that's the case, who pays for that?
Yeah.
Is that going to be you? Or is it going to be them? Or is it going to be a 50-50? Because these are some of the things that you need to have the conversation. You don't want to be running around and doing this and outlaying the money to do it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think it's one of those things that if they're wanting an independent, that's great. Again, I've got my own, thing, my own thoughts around the main street anyway. Even though it's got good foot traffic on certain days, again, you still got a lot of barriers to park and all of that. But if they're wanting an independent, maybe get them to organise that on their behalf to look at it.
it was a bit unfortunate. It was fortunate and unfortunate they looked at it on the day that the markets run.
No, they did. On a Friday.
You said there was markets on
Oh, yeah,
there.
they were packing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday morning markets. But I mean, if you go down there, and one thing I would encourage you is to go down there on days that don't have markets,
Yeah.
Mm.
because there's scarcity of people.
Mm.
So, yeah. All right. Well, you got some stuff to think about. I hope this has been helpful
It certainly has.
and not more
Yeah,
confusing for you,
yeah.
Chiara.
I'm so overwhelmed. It's just like trying to please everyone. And I'm just like,
Mm.
what do I want?
But see, this is why I keep asking you. This
Yeah.
isn't about pleasing the girls. Like, what's your dream with this? What's your goal?
No,
You
but
don't-
even Nico, like, Nico's like, I don't like that place. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And everyone's just like,
I think you need
like
to,
everyone's
when,
there.
when you look at something, there's three things you've got to look at. Okay. One thing I'd be looking at, okay, traffic, foot traffic, and not foot traffic on days of markets. Okay. I'd be looking at, okay, what businesses are in this area? Who works in the area? Are these people potential pole dancing people? And the greater area, because they'll be coming from everywhere. Where can they park? Until what time? That's number one. Number two, I would be looking at beyond, if a place is ugly, pretty, whatever, I'd be looking at functionality and cost to set it up and what's involved. So if we look at that place that was down North Wollongong Way, yep, it was, you know, good, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it didn't have a DA. Okay, there's some other things with that. It's a problem that we can work around. Then you look at the Crown Street one, and suddenly it's going to need a total like code upgrade, which you could be, you know, not forced into, but part of the agreement could be you pay 50%. Okay, which could be really expensive, especially when, if hypothetically it is asbestos, it's a lot to remove that because there's only certain people that can do it, and then it's a rebuild on the infrastructure inside. So that could be anything from 20 to 100K just on that. And then number three, the most important thing I would be looking at is, does it align with your vision and mission? Do these people align with your vision and mission? And what is your say in this? They're the only things that you should be thinking about.
Mhm.
And if it ticks all the boxes, move forward. If it ticks some of the boxes, like have a line, a percentile line of, okay, my percent is 60% or 70%, whatever it is. If it meets 70% of your requirements and you're happy that, okay, it doesn't meet those other 30, have your top, you know, 60, 70% what it has to meet. Because again, once you get into business with someone else, there's a whole lot of dynamics that change, and you don't necessarily have a say in running your business. You have input, but the decision will not be yours. You will be a part of that decision, and you'll come to an agreement on how that business moves forward. And if you've got two people who have done this before that own 50% together, and it's, you know, everyone's got a vote and it's 2 against 1, I'm only assuming here that would be them 2 against your 1 in a lot of those cases, because they have a system, they know how it runs, this is how they want it to run, not how you want your business to run. If that makes sense. And they're the things you need to think about. Am I prepared to give up what I want to move forward with this? And when I say give up, I mean, am I prepared to, okay, with all the things I talk about, am I happy that that could be a thing that happens in our business? And if I'm okay with that, do it. If your gut says no, I wouldn't enter into any agreement whatsoever, because once you're in, it's going to be very difficult for you to get out.
Mhm.
And then if you wanted to set up something for yourself down the track, it's going to be harder. Because again, they will most likely have monopoly if they decide to move forward. And on that note, I will love you and leave you. Until our next conversation.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Gab.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Look, the one thing I can tell you guys is that you got a great product. You do. Okay. Yeah, we've had troubles finding a place, and you're always going to get opportunities. All I can say is make sure you stick to what you believe with this business, what your vision is, what your goal is. And if it fits into that, not you fit into theirs, happy days. And just take the emotion out. Think of this as just an entity thing. And I've got to make a decision on it. And that's it.
Mhm.
The decision will be easier for you once you take the emotion out of it. Because then it just becomes a yes or no answer. Okay. Let me know how you go. All right. Keep me posted. Okay.
Thank you, Gab.
No worries. Take care, guys. Love you heaps.
Take care.
Love you. Bye.